Ladies and gentlemen, it's 6 o'clock. The meeting is going to start.
Baker's going out to
We
get
can-
chairs.
We can get a couple of chairs. So I'd like to call the meeting to order. This is the meeting, the November 29th meeting for the Planning Board for the town of Lincolnville for the purpose of a public hearing in advance of the public meeting, or the town meeting on December 11th, as required by the statutes. So the obvious thing is it's a public meeting. We'd like to hear your comments, yeas or nays. Mr. Dave Kinney will handle all of that. And Dave, you're the town administrator, and Dave is going to read the warrant, and then we'll take questions from the audience. So with that, Mr. Kinney, have at it.
Nice to see a good crowd in the room only. For those of you that don't know, the Board of Selectmen, or the Select Board, sorry, have called for a special town meeting on Monday, December 11th, at 6 p.m. at Lincolnville Central School to consider 2 warrant articles. There are copies out here on the table if you wish to have one. They're also posted around town in public and conspicuous places, and it's on our website. The first article is what starts off every town meeting, is the election of a moderator. That person will be elected from the floor and will preside over the meeting and moderate all of us. And the second article, which is what we're here tonight for, is read shall an ordinance entitled Town of Lincolnville Major Non-Residential Development Project Moratorium Ordinance be enacted. That's this 5-page document that is also available out here, posted on our website, and we'll make copies available at town meetings for anybody that doesn't already know or have them. Moratorium ordinances in towns such as Lincolnville can be adopted by the legislative body, which is town meeting, which is those that show up and are registered to vote. Please come a couple minutes early. We'll be checking people in that night against the voting list and giving you a new card. And the meeting is going to start promptly at 6, so please come early and get checked in. Then that will be in the Walsh Farm and the Central School. I'm not, unless the Lord people wishes, I'm probably not going to read you the 5 pages of the ordinance.
Thank you, Dave.
You're welcome. In general terms, it's a moratorium ordinance, so anything that might be proposed will not be reviewed by the planning board or any other entity in the town. And it applies to what's called major non-residential development projects. Which is defined in the ordinance. I will read that part to you. It is a non-residential development project involving the construction or addition of 4,000 square feet of gross non-residential floor area or a non-residential development project that has the potential to generate more than 50 vehicle trips per peak hour or 400 trips per day, or a non-residential development project on site with a slope of greater than 20 degrees or greater, or a non-residential development project requiring a parking lot for 20 or more vehicles. This ordinance will have an applicable date of
November 13th.
Thank you, November 13th, 2023. And I will say that the town, as of today, has not received an application that would predate that. And that, I'm happy to try and answer any or all questions you have. We'll stand back and listen to that.
Any questions from the board?
No.
Nope. Nope. It's the audience's turn. Anybody would like to make some comments?
Before somebody runs up, I will say this is written so that if you're in favor of the moratorium ordinance, you would vote yes. If you're opposed, you vote no. And if the noes have it and the moratorium ordinance fails, then the ordinances that the town currently have in place will remain in place. And any project that might
I'll take that down
would be
because
my final.
And you'll tell us again that same thing on the 11th?
If the moderator does not explain that to you adequately, I would be happy to jump up and restate that.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you'd like to make a comment, I'd like you to please go to the podium, and then Mr. Kinney will respond to you. So, anybody have a comment?
I do. I actually have, can I ask the board?
Sure.
We don't
Hi,
know
I'm
anything,
Becky
but you-
Johnson. And I think Dave just answered my one question. There has been no new proposal from Gold Commerce since their original proposal from
we
the
have
last planning
received
board
no building that applicant.
meeting. And has there been any updates on the survey?
We have heard nothing. Absolutely zero. No phone calls, no email, no text, nothing.
Well, it's very wrong.
Good. Okay. All right, well, those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next.
David Perkins, High Street. I'm very supportive of the moratorium. Sudden large commercial projects in Lincolnville, such as the one that has been discussed, really do pose a threat to our town. And I think we need at least 180 days to update our zoning and our land use ordinance. You think of the situation with the lakes we have, the environmental conditions, the character of our town, the impact on local businesses when a very large business comes in. There's a lot of thought that needs to go into how we improve our land use ordinance. We're going through our comprehensive plan process right now. And so I think the big thing is how do we get it right? And that's going to be my question for David Kinney when I finish expressing my support for the moratorium. The moratorium gives us 180 days to come up with a better land use ordinance. And I think that's going to be the real task. The moratorium gives us a pause, and then you guys have to manage projects like this in the future. And hopefully there'll be better design standards, more updated standards. So my question to David or to the board is, if a moratorium passes, what will it look like in terms of the work that's done on improving the land use ordinance?
The select board, in choosing to put forth this to the voters, are looking to get community input. There are a lot of people here tonight. There was a public meeting that was held back in October, I believe, where a number of people showed up. There are 2,312 residents of Lincolnville as of the 2020 census. We have over 2,000 registered voters. So conceivably, we could have 2,000 people show up at the at a town meeting to actually vote. The select board has taken no position regarding the moratorium ordinance except to create one and put it forward to the voters to tell them what they wish to be enacted or not enacted. Should the ordinance be enacted, as Dave Perkins mentioned, it will be in effect for 180 days, starting back on the applicable date, which somebody said was November 13th. So our work will be cut out for us. That being said, if reasonable progress is being made and there are certain criteria within the law when a moratorium can be extended for another 180-day period after the select board has a hearing and make certain findings. I would anticipate that the select board, after the vote, we'll have a discussion in the select board meeting about how to move forward or not to move forward, depending on what the results of the vote are. And a ordinance or ordinance amendments will be prepared, which will ultimately have to have another public hearing similar to this, or perhaps even bigger, larger venue. And then ultimately go forward to another town meeting vote. Whether that be a special town meeting or June or a November vote, that's to be determined based on timing of getting all the work done. There's a lot of the easy part of the job is between now and December 11th. The hard part is taking what's the voters have chosen to do and coming up with some implementation strategies and wording so that the planning board, when the ordinance is ultimately amended, has something that's readily understandable to both the planning board and the applicant and for the citizens that adopt it, and provide the legal foundation back into what the system wants. So there will have to be some public input type sessions for citizens to be involved in creating the vision they want changes to.
Sandy Delano, any discussion as to who is going to create this new set of rules?
There has not been any discussion. The town charter anticipates that the land use committee will be in charge of writing and rewriting land use ordinances.
Do we have one of
We
those?
do not currently have those things.
Okay, so there's an opportunity for members of the community to participate perhaps.
Absolutely. We have many volunteer opportunities. Sign up to join committees. We have something for everyone.
Any other comments or questions? Did you stand up to the podium, sir?
My name is Rick McKittrick. I also live on High Street. I know there's been discussion in the community about a potential development of a potential site. My concern is less to do with that, particularly since we have no identification of what that project could be or might be, other than some rough parameters. And my understanding is no application is pending at this time. But the broader concern is obviously the entire town of Lincolnville. Right now, as I understand, there are very general, very vague standards to lead to a major commercial development next to any one of our homes or one of our churches or one of our community facilities, presuming certain very general standards from that. So I think we could be distracted by thinking about a particular project, whether it unfolds or not, but rather about the community at large. And I too am in favor, I think, of the moratorium simply to give the opportunity, which will require a lot of work and a lot of attention to address that generality in town, because right now the town is exposed and vulnerable, and we've given no guidance to our planning board, to our zoning official, to the select board about what to do, depending on what type of major development is proposed in town. So we owe it to our town officials, we owe it to our fellow citizens to take the opportunity to address those needs, regardless of whether we have something pending or not pending. I think the concern is much broader than what's being discussed in the community right now. If it accelerated the process, so be it. But we really need some tools to work with to help us all plan for the future of this.
Thank you, sir. Ma'am?
I'm Liz Laycock on Youngtown Road. I have a question about the watershed. issue, question, concern. I understand that this particular piece of property that we're focused on right now, is in the watershed area for Norton Pond and Medina Lake, which are sensitive. Who among us, is it the planning board, is it the conservation committee, who is it who is gonna be sure that that is protected in this process?
If anyone had proposed a project that would affect the pond, or any pond, excuse me, one of the things that would be required, they would have to take and put money in escrow, the applicant, and we would demand that they bring an expert in. And that expert would have to be someone who was very familiar with hydrology and watersheds and the whole 9 yards. So whatever a person was saying, this is the way we're going to handle the stormwater, using the formula for what the stormwater amounts to, we, the board, representing the town, would have to be completely satisfied that when that is activated, if they had the potential of a 100-year flood, we're not going to be damaging fragile North Pond. Okay, so that is a very big roadblock for anyone that tries to build on any lot like that lot that would have an impact on North Pond.
That's current policy.
I would like to just clarify what Frank was saying. Is the money in the escrow account is not for the applicant to use to hire somebody, it's for the town to use to hire a hydrologist for that. So it would be our expert, not their expert.
And if the money starts
I'm
to
sorry.
go down below 50%, they would have to reinvest into that fund.
I'll see how the voting goes for a moment. I think maybe, you correct me if I'm wrong, I'm interpreting the question as to not what we do currently, but what we might do as we're developing new rules for the protection of the water.
I guess my question is, are our current rules sufficient? Do we feel that our, or believe, does that need to be looked at?
We do not know the answer to that question, I don't believe. I can envision, however these rules are to be developed, that the town may bring in some outside assistance from people that are more knowledgeable, or reach out to some of the people that within the community that are more knowledgeable than others to assist in getting protections that we all deserve to have for our life.
We could borrow it from another community too, David.
I'm out of school and I've been known to plagiarize.
That's where half of what we've got now came from.
That's all I know.
Thank you. Dave, I have one question. Actually, just a comment. Under the definition of major non-residential development project means, you're saying construction or addition of 4,000 square feet of gross. What happens if it's 3,999, or what happens if it's 4,010? Should that not be
If it's
a greater?
3,999, you'll review the property by the current land use ordinance, that's a minor.
Okay. And what about if it's greater?
If it's greater than,
Yes.
you'll be caught by this ordinance.
That's the whole idea of this.
No, I understand that. I was just thinking that maybe the words "or greater" should be put in there, that's all. That's what I was questioning.
At this point, the ordinance that townspeople have in front of them is non-amendable. So I'll ask that question to somebody brighter than I am.
Oh, sorry, sir.
Mike Ray on Quarry Road. I just got a question, and I was hoping that someone on the board might be able to help us out with, should this moratorium not pass, let's say, and an application come in front of you, commercial site plan review centering around this issue more or less. Could you fill us in on what opportunities the public input, public has, what student applications come in front of it?
This
What
is,
constitutes standing, what constitutes evidence, things like that, where they might find that information.
this is what's happening now.
No, I understand that.
This all precipitated, when we first had the first meeting, with the number of citizens that showed up that were protesting. And that was the battle cry to say the town's not happy. And so this is where the town
No,
has brought us
I
to.
understand that, Frank, I guess I didn't make my point clear. Let's say an application does come forward.
Right.
Okay, in that process, where can the public, how might it weigh in on the application? What constitutes evidence for the application? That's the all concerned question. What constitutes standing? Questions like that. That would be good information, it seems, for the people to have. That's my point. Yeah. That's the drama from what I'm talking about.
Well, there's a provision for when the application is presented to have a public hearing, or have public input, as well as the second, the approval, as I recall. Am I correct, Mr. Frank? Well, when we go for the approval process, we have the public input at that time as well.
Right, in any project, one of the positions the select board and Dave takes, the more information we give to you, the better off everyone is. So anytime an application comes before the board, if it's a subdivision, if it's a commercial site plan, the first thing happens that everyone within 500 feet is notified and registered. We know that's happened. It goes into the newspaper. It's posted at the post office, the town office, and at the drug store. And so the decision is made by the board. Is this significant enough to have a public hearing? That's exactly what happened. And so the people that are interested would be involved in the project as it's moving through the process. It's got three basic steps on any application. It's a pre-application where the applicant says, what do you think about my doing this? So if the board's responsibility to say, well, we see a problem here, or there's no problem. The next phase is the applicant has put together all of the answers so that the board can decide. It's the submissions that are required. If they don't provide us with all the submissions that are required to make the right decisions, then they do not go any further until they come back with the right submissions. Once the right submissions are in place, at that point in time, we set the third meeting in order, the third process, where the board reviews the town standards based on the submissions and what we know about what they're going to do. And predicated on that, they vote yes or no on each one of these 22 standards. And the public is invited to come along. So it's the norm is the public can move through it as they want to. And normally there's no resistance. Maybe you have one or two people. But when something of this magnitude comes along, the town is saying, this is who we are, this is what we don't want, this is what we do want. And that's why we're executing your right now. So the next step from here is what we have put together. It's currently up before you to decide, yes, I want to move forward with this. That's it.
Mr. Gary?
Rosie Gary. Correct me if I'm wrong. This fails. We'll just say the mortgage loan fails. I present you with an application. On that application, I do all the things that are required of me. It does not matter whether I like it or I don't like it. You, I believe, have a set of guidelines that you have to follow That's what you were appointed to do, was to follow the rules.
Exactly right.
And so it doesn't matter if I just don't like it. Am I correct?
You're absolutely right.
Thank you.
So, and that's why we have to revisit the ordinances.
Was that Rosie Gary?
He used to be.
We have to revisit the ordinances, and that's what this is for, to give us the time to revisit the ordinances, and not us, the planning board, but the town, to make the revisions to the ordinance, the land use ordinance, to conform to what the town wants. But if you vote it down, you're absolutely right. They can come back with the application as long as they do everything according to what the application says. Then we have no choice. We can't take public opinion.
We legally have no choice.
It's a legal situation, obviously. We cannot take public opinion into account if everything is done as the ordinance calls for. I think that should be very clear, because it can put us in a bad position sometimes, but I want to be sure that everybody understands that. So that's what we're trying to do here, I think. Oh, yes, ma'am. I don't think. Never think.
We know.
Jane Hardy, Richards Road. So, hearing your 3 different phases, where are we right now?
No place, there's no application.
We don't have an application.
Okay, so we don't even have a pre-application.
We had a pre-application, and that was it.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
So, Frank, you mean they haven't filed an application
nothing.
since the pre-application,
Correct.
which we were here for a few weeks ago?
Correct, nothing.
So does that possibly mean they aren't interested anymore?
We could, it's subjective.
don't
If we
know.
do not have an application, there's nothing to
Okay.
talk about.
But in the meantime, we should still go forward with this
Absolutely.
Of course.
moratorium, the vote, and the
Because
new
the
comprehensive.
town is saying, if something like that did come before the board, this is what the position we're taking.
Yeah, I think it's very clear that the board can't do anything if they came back with an application and we didn't have this meeting and our votes and so on in between. We basically have to say, yep, the water's okay, you're not going over 30 feet, or whatever our policies are now. We basically have to say, done, check, 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 and okay, here's your license to build. So this is a good thing that everyone is involved in. I think the whole town is. This is the first time in the 4 years I've been on the board that we've had something so strong, and where people really care and they want the town, subdivisions and things like that. A few people complain, but if that's subdivisions, we check off all the policies, they get to do it. So what Frank is saying is that we really need to stand behind this and get everybody to get to voting on December 11th.
Yes, ma'am.
I am Patrick. I just wanted to ask a question, make sure I understand this correctly, that we vote for this moratorium. It's basically to give us time to tighten up or adjust our current ordinances. Is that correct? Before the end of 180 days?
Yep.
So that what this tightening will make it clear that we don't want this kind of project in our town, or will we make it clear if we have a project like this, there is a certain place for it in our town? Just like any other project, subdivision, whatever, there are lots of things that come up that a lot of people don't like. And I don't think everybody really wants to go through this whole process
that we're going through now, every single time something comes up that enough people don't like. And I don't think it's fair to the applicants who want to have those projects either. If they think it's okay, and then we start, and we say, oh, no, we don't want you. You're okay, but you're not. I think the town really has to come to terms with figuring out what we want and where we want it or where we don't want it. And get it down in black and white, so the planning board, the select board can look at what we have on paper and know that that's what the town has said and act on it, and not just react to every single situation that might happen. So I think 180 days is a very short time if we really want to put something together that's going to help us out in the long run.
But if we make progress, we have the option for another 180 days. So is there anyone here who is not in favor of the moratorium? I haven't heard any nays.
They wouldn't do that.
They wouldn't dare. Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments, please? Dan, I've never heard you not say anything.
I'm in violent agreement.
All right, well, if that's the case, I'm sorry, did you want to say something? Yeah.
No, I'll put that.
Who are you?
Got a reputation to.
That's right. Dan Leary, Atlantic Highway, or Route 1, or whatever, Main Street. Anyway, I think that it was separated at the very beginning is how do you spend 180 days, 180 days plus? And I think it's always, it's easy to know what you don't want. And writing down what you don't want is kind of relatively simple. But structuring a set of ordinances that anticipate, projects that may be very favorable, that may be very good for the community, that can be expedited through a process and move quickly is probably the challenge of the 180 days. And I think as that process gets defined, it's going to be important for people to make their voices known, and especially with some kind of cool and creative ideas that can help, let's say, future-proof these kinds of activities, these kinds of applications and activities, at least for a foreseeable future that is foreseeable. And what is that? 7 years, 10 years, maybe that kind of time frame, because things change so much and things change fast. So anyway, I'm just put my I'm a big advocate of the process and this whole time period that's available for regardless of whether there's applications pending or not, is seizing the opportunity to take the time period and make the thing happen and come out here 180 days later with a piece of or set of ordinances that everybody can follow. Great job.
Thank you. Thank you, Dan. Well,
How long have we had our existing ordinances, Dave?
2006, is it not?
The last time the commercial site plan ordinance was amended was 2010.
And it was,
But it pre-existed prior to.
and it was up to speed and covered everything that we knew of at that point in time.
I am fairly certain, knowing the people that worked on ordinances in the past in Lincolnville, that they did the very best they thought they could do for the community when they presented that and was approved by the voters. And
We've got the same situation
they'll
now.
do the same. Whoever gets tasked with this will do the very best they can do for the town.
That was my point. Thank you.
If we're finished, I have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Oh, sorry.
Second.
Real quick. I just want to thank each and every one of you individuals for taking the time for a thankless job. And it really is. No, really.
It's a lot of fun.
Thank you very much for saying, I like to see all the chairs filled. So thank you to each one of you. Not your fun.
It is rosy. It is rosy.
There's a motion on the table. Any discussion? Sorry.
One comment?
Yes, sir.
Comment? Anybody who's really interested in the specifics of the ordinances, they have to just point out that it is available on the web. And you can see for yourself very concretely what's allowed, what isn't, how the ordinances is organized. It's actually kind of, I think, pretty well written. I mean, you're not starting at ground zero, so it's pretty updated by various people.
Looking at the hope.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Sandy, did you make the first or second?
Oh, I don't know. I seconded it. I forced it up, so take it back.
The chair.